We come today to Nehemiah chapter 5, verses 5 to 19. Nehemiah's righteous anger. Nehemiah chapter 5, verse 6 and 7a says this. Now I was very angry when I heard their cry and these words. He's talking about the first 5 verses. If you need to see that a little bit more, you need to go back to the previous message. It has to do with the way the people were being treated and being put into financial captivity. Then I consulted with myself. I did something very unusual here because I put down several different versions of the 5:7a. The New King James says, after serious thought. The New English translation says, I considered these things carefully. The Conservative Standard Bible says, after seriously considering the matter. The one I like best, though, is the Young's literal translation, which says, and my heart reigneth over me. My heart reigneth over me. He's very angry, but he lets his heart reign over him. I wonder, when we look back in time, just what scriptures did Nehemiah have to help his heart to reign over his anger, rather than his anger reign over his heart? He could have used the example of Moses in Exodus 32, 19 to 24. It came to pass, as soon as he came nigh unto the camp, Moses is just coming down from the mountain after receiving the 10 Commandments, that he saw the calf and the dancing, and Moses' anger waxed hot. And he cast the tables out of his hands and brake them beneath the mountain. He was so angry he took the law that God had given him on the mountain when God wrote with his finger and just cast them down on. But that wasn't all. And he took the calf which they had made and burned it in the fire and ground it to powder, strew it upon the mountain for the water, and made the children of Israel drink of it. He made a water gold drink, which if you look at modern medicine, it is very good for arthritis, but I don't know about for idolatry. And then Moses said to Aaron, what did this people do unto you? He said, Aaron, these people messed you up, that thou hast brought so great a sin upon them. And Aaron said, let not the anger of my Lord wax hot. You know the people, they're set for mischief. And they said unto me, make us gods which shall go before us. For as for this Moses, the man that brought us up out of Egypt, we won't know. We don't know what became of him. And I said unto them, whatsoever hath any gold, or whosoever hath any gold, let them break it off. So they gave it to me. Then I cast it in the fire, and then came out this calf. Can you believe his excuse that Aaron made to Moses? I just took the gold and threw it in the fire, and it came out as calf. There wasn't any shaping or anything. It just did it itself. Well, that was the one example he could have used, but I think when he looked at that, he said, Moses, you did wrong. Aaron, you did wrong. You both had a problem with your anger. And you come in the book of Numbers, we run into Baalam. And as the donkey's going through the pass, or the ass is going through the pass, he saw that the angel of the Lord was there and fell down on the ground. And Balaam's anger was kindled, and he smote the ass with a staff. We read on here, we find out that he smote it 3 times. He beat on it. And then what's really interesting is, there's a side note here for you. Balaam's ass started talking and said, what'd you do this to me for? Why did you smite me 3 times? What have I ever done to you? Well, if you think it's funny that the ass was talking, it's more amazing that Balaam answered his donkey. His ass. He said, no, you did nothing. And then God opened Balaam's eyes and he saw that the Lord was blocking the way for him to go. But again, bad example of what to do in your anger. You don't pick on people and you don't beat your animals. Then we see with the example of Saul. And Saul's anger was kindled against Jonathan. And he said unto him, Thou son of a perverse, rebellious woman. Oh my goodness, he picks on Jonathan's mother because of how Jonathan turned out. Forget he was also his son. Do not I know that thou hast chosen the son of Jesse to thine own confusion? He says, you're all mixed up, son. It's all your mother's fault. And under the confusion of thy mother's nakedness, you even make your mother look like she's a prostitute. Oh. A couple verses later it says, So Jonathan rose from the table in fierce anger. But now he's mad at his dad. And did not eat meat the second day of the month, for he was grieved for David, because his father had done him shame. He did David shame. Here's a good example. When somebody says something that just tears your family apart, curses your mother, and everything else, just sit down and cool off. If you don't feel like eating, don't eat. Be grieved about it, because your own dad has made a shame of you, of your friend, of your mother. Just cool it. In fact, it's kind of interesting. We come to the book of Psalms, which was written much later. David had some advice. He said, Rest in the Lord and wait patiently for him. Fret not thyself because of him that prospers in the way, because of the man that bringeth wicked devices to pass. Cease from anger and forsake wrath. Fret not thyself in any wise to do evil. Very interesting passage here, you think about it. It says, just, okay, you're angry. Stop it. Set aside the wrath you thought you might want to do. And don't any wise, in any way, shape, or form, think in your heart or in your mind to do evil. I like what Charles Spurgeon said about mouthing off when you're angry. He says this, a silent tongue in many cases not only shows a wise head, but a holy heart. You know, a lot of times when we get angry, we know better in our head. There's our heart, which is deceitfully wicked. And we get angry and we blow it. We cause all kinds of problems that shouldn't be. Solomon's advice in Proverbs 10:19 is this, in the multitude of words there wanteth not sin. The more you say, there's an old saying that we used to have around the church called the more you say, the deeper you go. It was taken off of this proverb here. But he that remaineth his lips is wise. We need to just cool it. Cease from our anger. Refrain from doing anything that's evil. Both David and Solomon, his son, said this is the way it ought to be. Solomon also wrote the book of Ecclesiastes, and even though I don't make doctrine out of Ecclesiastes because it's what man is apart from God, he still said some very wise things for just the man apart from God. He said, for a dream cometh through the multitude of business. You got a dream? Work at it. dream will become a reality. And a fool's voice is known by a multitude of words. The more you say, the deeper you go. A fool's voice. Sometimes when we're angry, it's better to just keep our mouth shut. Derek Kidner, in his commentary on Nehemiah, said this: Nehemiah, fortunately for his people, was far from unshockable. When the people told him what was going on, it didn't shock him. His anger was really the measure of his concern or love. But the same concern made it controlled and constructive, as the passage of Nehemiah goes on to show. If you're angry, and you are loving, and you're concerned, then we need to be controlled and constructive in how we handle our anger. What Nehemiah did is he exhorted the nobles. In other words, he verbally attacked their actions. He did not attack them and said, you're a bunch of idiots. He said, what you did was totally wrong. Remember, you also were a slave. Just a few years ago, you came out of slavery. Your actions of putting your own people back into slavery to you and in debt to you, it's wrong. He examined their motive. He said, getting rich off the less fortunate, that's not what we're supposed to do. That's not what we're here for. We came here to rebuild the city, to rebuild the wall, to rebuild our relationship with God, and you've used it as an opportunity to use the actions our enemies used against us and turn their very actions into the actions you do, and trying to get rich off us and turning them into your slaves, really. What Nehemiah did not do, he says in verse 10, though, I likewise and my brethren and my servants might exact them money and coin. He said, we can do that. We're working for them. We're entitled to it. The law says don't muzzle the ox. It treads the corn. It could happen. But I pray you, he's begging these people now. The man of prayer is praying even to the people who are doing the bad deeds. Let us, he puts himself in that category. He doesn't say, why don't you? He says, let us leave off this usury. Because we're not here to use those people. We're here to help these people. Nehemiah goes ahead and explains even farther the example of what he had been doing. He said, moreover, from the time that I was appointed to be their governor in the land of Judah, it was after he got there, in the 20th year, even unto the 32nd year of Artaxerxes the king, that is 12 years, I and my brethren have not eaten the bread of the governor. He says, I'm doing the job as a governor, and I took no pay for it. In fact, it's kind of interesting, he didn't even work for $1 a year, as some of our politicians and some of our richer people do today. It was no $1 a year, man. He was free. But the former governments that have been before you, before me, were chargeable unto the people, and had taken of them bread and wine, besides 40 shekels of silver. He says they got not only their food, but they also got money. Even their servants bear rule over the people. So if the governor was in charge, then the people who worked for the governor, they also took advantage of the people. So did not I. Why? Because of the fear of the Lord. He respected God, and in his respect for God, he did not take advantage of people. He goes on. Yea, I also continued in the work on the wall. He says, I wasn't only the boss that told you how to fix it, where to fix the wall and put people in place to do it. I worked on the wall too. Even though I'm the governor, I was down there lifting those stones, putting those stones in place, and building that wall just the same as everybody else. He says, neither bought we any land. He'd been there for 12 years. He was still living, renting. And all his servants were gathered together unto the work. We didn't come here to get rich and to use the people. We came here to work. Moreover, there were at my table, listen to this now, not only was he and his servants, but there was 150 of the Jews and the rulers, and besides the 150, there were those that came unto us from among the heathen that are among us. Heathens are Gentiles in the Old Testament. He had 150 Jews and some of the rulers and Gentiles at his table every day. Now, what did he feed him? Did he feed him bean soup? No, look at this. Now, that which was prepared for me daily, it was prepared daily for his table, was 1 ox, 6 choice sheep, and fowls were prepared, and once in every 10 days all sorts of wine. Yet for all this required not I the bread of the governor, because the bondage was heavy upon the people. He feared the Lord, and he respected the people, and he did whatever he could to help those who were needy. He was not there to help the greedy, but he was there to help the needy. Well, all the examples that Nehemiah had, realize we have better examples for today? There's the example of Jesus from Mark chapter 3, verse 5. And when he looked around about them with anger, they were all around, and they said, "You going to do? Heal this guy on the Sabbath day?" Being grieved with their hardness of heart, he said to them, "Stretch forth your hand." And he stretched it out, and his hand was restored as whole as the other. In the verses around this, it talks about the fact that if you needed to do something in an emergency on the Sabbath day, you'd do it. You'd feed your animal or whatever was going on. If your animal had a problem, you'd take care of your animal, but you won't heal somebody. You take advantage of somebody. He was very angry and grieved, not at the man who was sick, but grieved for the hardness of the heart of the rulers, of the Sadducees, of the Pharisees, of those who should have been caring for the people rather than taking advantage of them. Paul has an instruction for the church. He says, "Be ye angry." It's okay to be angry. There are times when we ought to be angry about things. And sin not. You know what's amazing to me is sometimes I get very angry about something, and first thing I know, I've sinned. And then when I start to think, hey, I handled that very well, pride gets in my way, I sinned again. So I could really say, in my case, I have a very difficult time of being angry and sin not. But notice the following instruction. Let not the sun go down upon your wrath. No matter who or what we're mad at, no matter what just ticks us off, no matter what it is, settle the problem before the sun sets. Another little advice I had from the time I was a kid. If something makes you angry, tie your goat someplace else. The same thing that makes you angry, that causes you to sin, should not make you angry and cause you to sin again. Tie your goat someplace else. If somebody gets to you, don't let that person get to you again. And if they do, don't let the sun go down upon your wrath. Ask God's forgiveness and theirs. Our next message is going into Nehemiah chapter 6, verses 1 to 3. And when the people of God got their problems straightened out, the enemies now come back to attack once more. This time, their attempt is to delay by deception. I pray you have a good week. I also pray that you all are kept healthy. And if you become angry, you deal with it in a godly way because you're concerned and you love the people, not because it just bugs you or bothers you. Thank you.